Alrighty, you guys. Camera's on, I believe. Just spent about half an hour trying to figure out how to edit a picture without using my editing app. Finally figured it out. So today we are out here, actually editing a video. I think I said picture, meant video. I caught a bluegill just a little bit ago on camera, but the video was like 15 minutes long and I only caught one fish in it. So I went ahead and edited it down, and that'll be posted up here pretty soon. But the way we're going to be fishing today is the same way we were fishing yesterday, catching a bunch of big bluegill, crappie, and everything else. Now I've got a bunch of bites today. I've hooked two what look to be really good sized crappie, one decent little bass, and a bluegill, all on the exact same setup. And this is what the setup we were fishing yesterday. We were all three using pretty much the same setup, otherwise, except for the rods. The rod and reel and the line were a little bit different, but the actual lure and cork and stuff were pretty much the same. A very small little white and orange cork, a very small jig head with a 1.3 inch tadpole. Now the colors we were using, like I said in the video yesterday, red, white, and blue. The Patriot color was a very popular one for the bigger crappie. And it got bit by a lot of bluegill, but the bigger crappie loved that red, white, and blue. And then the bigger bluegill were liking the orange and the orange and black. Today I'm throwing the orange. So we're going to see what we can do with this deal here. See if we can get another good fish on camera. Okay, so basically what we were doing yesterday, if you guys fish saltwater, or if you have watched, there's a fish. Ooh, it's a bass. Oh, he came off, darn it. Another bass. That was a little bass there. Interesting. Little multi-species action there, boys. So basically what we were doing, if you guys have ever watched... Ooh, there's a big one move back there. We'll have to go back down there here in a little bit. But if you guys have ever watched people saltwater fish for redfish, trout, snook, stuff like that, they use what they call a popping cork. It's basically a big floating cork with a popper style mouth on it. Now we are actually using just regular small little bluegill fishing corks, little tiny corks that you'd probably be able to use on a fly rod, honestly. I mean, these things are very, very small. I think this one here is only about 1.5 inches long. You guys can see it there in my hand. It's a very small cork. And we're basically throwing that with a little jig head, and we're popping it across the surface. Now, because that makes sense. Basically what the deal is, I think, is these bluegill and stuff think that that little cork is just a big bug. And then they see that little thing just underneath of it, and they want to come up there and grab it. That's my thinking of the situation. Now, I could be completely wrong, but that's my thinking of it. That cork gets their attention, and then they see that little orange, or orange and black, or red, white, and blue, or whatever color I'm using. They see that little tadpole down there, and they're like, you know what, that's a nice little easy meal. And they grab it. Oop, there's a fish. Just spooked one. Let's see if we can cast over there and get him. I've got my drag set pretty tight, even though I'm only fishing 8-pound line. I've got it set pretty tight because I'm fishing around this brush, and I want to be able to kind of rip any of the bluegill that I hook. I want to rip them out of that brush as fast as possible because I don't want to get them all tangled up. Because with this 8-pound line, it is very, very hard to get untangled, especially when you're fighting a fish and everything else. It's almost impossible. So I've got my drag set pretty tight compared to what most people probably would have with only 8-pound line. And I think something else that really helped us yesterday was using these smaller corks. Was also not only, there's a bite, had a little micro bite, there's one. Ooh, hard fighting. Yeah, it's another big old gill. Looky there, boys. Oh, it's a hybrid. This is my first hybrid of the year. My first green sunfish bluegill hybrid of the year. Boy, he is a nice one. My goodness, that is a good one. Look at how he ate that thing. Beauty right there. That is a very beautiful fish. Came on that orange colored tadpole. Pop that hook out. Come on, hook. Come out. Are you kidding me? I hooked him freaking perfect, too. There we go. Nice little green sunfish hybrid. Now, I've talked about this before when I'm bass fishing. You guys see that orange on the end of his fins right there? That's why I like using that orange spike it on my crawls and swim baits and stuff, because it imitates these little bluegill. They got them orange, them the hybrids, they got that orange on their fins. There we go. They're up shallow, which is really good. I'm glad that we're finally getting into the fish. I mean, it's been a while since I've gotten into some really good fishing. This year, I've gotten on 3 really good days of bluegill fishing and 1 good day of bass fishing. A couple of these past few days have just been good for just about everything. I mean, honestly, the past few days I've been fishing, they've been good for crappie, bluegill, and bass. Caught a bunch of all 3 species. Doing little slams, I guess you could say, doubling up. Sometimes we were doubling up on bluegill and bass and bluegill and crappie. Sometimes we get 2 bluegill, sometimes we get 2 crappie. It was just really cool. Sometimes we actually got a couple times where we caught 2 bass. My brother caught one on topwater, and I would catch one on this little tadpole. It's just a really good days of fishing right now. These are the times where you can really get into the good fish, have good times with family, teach kids how to fish, you know, get small kids into fishing. Even if it's just, you know, throwing a little cork with a little jig like this, you know, you can get them into fishing, and they'll start to, you know, like it. You know, my brother at the beginning of the year, he was like, oh, I don't want to go fishing. I don't want to go fishing. It's boring. It's boring. And then we got him out there, and I gave him this rod with a Doc's Lure Company white and black tadpole. And he ended up catching one on his first cast, and then the second cast he caught one, third cast he caught one. And he ended up catching probably 12 or 15 fish that day. And since then, he's been on a roll, just smashing the bluegill. And he's even, you know, tried live bait. You know, my mom, she likes to use live bait when the fish aren't really wanting to bite soft plastics. And, you know, I've given them both live bait and then walked right next to them and slayed them on these little tadpoles. And then they'll put on tadpoles and they'll start slaying them. That's what happened last time we went fishing. Not this past yesterday, but the last time we went, my brother wanted to use a piece of night crawler, so I gave him a piece of night crawler, and I started whacking him on a tadpole, so he really quickly wanted the tadpole again. And we were just catching the crap out of them. These tadpoles have been absolutely destroying the bluegill and the panfish and stuff here in the past few weeks. Basically, like I was saying, we're basically just using them like like you would a popping cork in the saltwater fishing. Just a little bit, you know, you're not going to be ripping it like you would a popping cork out in the saltwater, you know, out in 60 feet of water, you know, popping it real hard. You're just kind of pop it very, very lightly. You're using a light rod, so you're not going to be able to really, you know, hit it really hard anyway. But very light little pops, just to let them fish know that little bobber's there, you know, letting them fish see it. They can see it, they'll know it's there, and then they'll be able to, you know, hone in on that and the cork. That little bait is a great bait for fishing with a cork because it's a bright bait, and that orange with that chartreuse, it really pairs up really well. Clouds coming out now, sun's going away. That could actually help us a little bit. Seemed to help us yesterday pretty good. Once the clouds covered the sun, it seemed like we got a lot more bites from the crappie. It seemed like the crappie would bite right after the clouds would leave, and then the bluegill would bite after the sun came out. It was a very cool day of fishing, I do have to say. And then, of course, ooh, there's a fish. I don't know. That's going to be a very interesting cast right here. Bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see how it works out for him. Hopefully it don't get me up in the brush. I think I'll probably be able to rip him out if he does bite. But this bait, I mean, it works for everything. It's such a small profile, and it's a really good deal too. I mean, some people would even deem it as too good of a deal. You know, my cousin, when he bought a bunch of them off of me, And he was telling me, you know, this is just too good of a deal for people to pass up. And I was like, I know. I mean, it's a really good deal for as good as these baits are. You know, 20 in a pack for $2 and 40 in a pack for $4. You know, if you're a serious bluegill, crappie, multi-species guy, micro fisherman, you know, these baits are perfect size for whatever kind of species you're going after. You know, I caught a bunch. I think I caught probably 6 or 7, you know, bass that were under 5 inches long yesterday on these little tadpoles. My dad was able to catch 2 or 3 1.5 to 2 pound bass on these little tadpoles, and he was just actually not even using a cork. He was actually just casting it out with a small jig head and just hopping it really hard off the bottom. And them little things would catch the crap out of bass. One catch in particular, which I thought was a really cool catch that he got, I actually got bit with my setup, and I swung and I missed, and he actually had already cast it over my line anyway. So he was bringing his bait straight through where I had just got bit, and he actually ended up catching that bass. It was about a 1.5 pound fish, which was really cool. We doubled up, I don't even know how many times. We caught a bunch of fish. It was just a really good day of fishing. I think we're going to go on ahead down to the deeper end. Let's go ahead and pause this, and I'll be right back. Okay, we're hooked up on a nice crappie here. There we go. That's a nice crappie. That's a good one. Looky there. Nice, beautiful black crappie. Took that orange. He took that orange 1.3 tadpole. Beauty right there. Beautiful crappie. On that orange, I came over on the other side of the brush pile, and that was my first cast after I walked away from where I was standing. So maybe they're stacked up over here. Ooh, there's two bluegill just busted right over there, and of course I make a crappy cast. But that fish actually followed my bait. I was reeling it in, and I thought I seen something flash at the cork, so I stopped it. And that crappie grabbed the bait, and I mean, he freaking took off with that cork. That cork went under in like a blink of an eye. So that was really cool. Let's see if I can reach those 2 bluegill that I seen sitting over there. I don't know if I will. Oh yeah, just able to. I don't know if they'll bite, but I was just able to reach them. The wind is blowing kind of from the west to the east, and it's kind of a bad spot to fish from over here because it's wanting to blow the cork right into the brush pile, which is kind of a good thing, but kind of a bad thing as well. You know, if I was using 10-pound line, I would just let it blow right up into the brush, because I know with that 10-pound trilene that I like to use, I could rip a bluegill or a bass out of there really easy. But with this 8-pound line, it's a little bit weaker, and I don't want to, you know, get a crappie stuck up in there, or a bluegill, bass, whatever, get stuck up in there and then have some problems. So I'll be right back. Alrighty, you guys, so we're going to go ahead and cut it off here. We're going to redo another video, see if it might work. We're going to come right back out actually and do some more fishing here in a little bit. Back here up in the woods right now, getting ready to go down through there and see if I can catch another fish. Thanks for watching. Bye.